Once upon a time, there was a songbird in a gilded cage. The bird sang day after day until she could not sing any more. Suddenly, a prince appeared, holding a golden key. "Sing just a bit longer," he said, "and I will set you free." So the songbird sang and sang, waiting for the prince to return. Hey everyone, time's trying to get away from me, huh? I'd like to apologize for the wait on this video. As a university student who studies art, a lot of my time I get to draw, and during the semester, or really during the year, is really focused on creating work for my classes. Don't worry though, I am finished for the school year, and hopefully next semester will leave me with a bit more time for video creation. Today we'll be designing the Magical Girl forms for my Magical Girl OCs. If you'd like to learn more about them, feel free to check out my previous video, which will be right up there in the corner. Now, let's get right into it, shall we? We'll be starting with, of course, our main character, Calliope Mitchell. So I initially wrote this video with a different Magical Girl design in mind for Calliope, which I had drawn back in December of 2025. If you look at when this video came out, you might notice it is in fact not December of 2025. I had finished all the art for this video back in January of this year, but I got extremely busy with schoolwork and I had to put off the video for a while. Thank God I did though, because I came back this month and ended up revamping the designs to a point that I'm finally happy with them, thank God. And this is the original design from December, and this is the design I completed this month. I hope you agree with me that the current one is much more appealing. I personally like it way more. I think the color palette feels a lot nicer. I hated the blue when I came back to it. In the original design, I felt too primary blue, I guess. Especially since it's not like I was doing a primary theme with the characters, so it honestly just kind of felt odd. I was trying to do like bright and colorful to match a more typical Magical Girl appearance, but one, I don't think it fits the story, and two, I just didn't like it. Honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, I did not like it. So, compared to her civilian form, Calliope's Magical Girl form is clearly a lot more confident. I've always enjoyed when a Magical Girl's transformation leads to them acting differently, so I want to explore this concept with Calliope's Magical Girl form, the Ringmaster. Calliope, while avoiding things that feel like too much, like bows and long skirts, dresses quite femininely. Whether she likes this or not is a pretty complex topic, especially for her character, but I think the Ringmaster's padded shoulders and fanciful waistcoat reflect a desire to break from the norms of society that Calliope feels really stuck in. That is really just a big central theme with Calliope's character, is that she feels very trapped in the ideals of not only what society sees of her as a person, but also what society expects of her as a woman. This reflects a lot in how she dresses, how she acts. Even the fact that she dyed her hair pink, while partially being because she dyed it together with Jules, was also a very distinct choice on her part to be a bit more feminine. Especially in high school, she didn't really dress the way she does now, and part of that was for her own comfort. But after her dad passed, and after she went to college, and after she got all these things lumped onto her, she started morphing herself into what she thinks that she should be rather than how she feels truly on the inside. Another important element of her Magical Girl design is the juxtaposition of Calliope's girly design with the Ringmaster's more seductive, I guess, quote-unquote, design elements. While yes, this was meant to emulate Ringmaster costumes that are usually seen on women, those designs, those costumes are also meant to be a bit more seductive than a man's costume. It demonstrates the confidence and power that Calliope does not feel that she possesses and that she sees in other women. A woman who can wear high-waisted shorts and thigh-high leather boots to Calliope is inherently stronger than she is. Of course, the color palette is also meant to have meaning. Calliope, Annette, and Quinn each have an astronomical element to their design. Calliope's being a star. I tried to use a color combination of blue and yellow to call upon the feeling of a shooting star. I've seen a lot of beautiful illustrations that use this sort of blue, green, and yellow palette to show a star shooting through space. And so I wanted to call upon those elements with her color palette, as well as having that star-shaped cutout in her vest. Like I said earlier, in the previous iteration I made of this design, I used much brighter primary blue that I ended up changing, because it makes the colors also just feel a lot more appealing. I felt like the primary blue, while it stood out and made a statement, it wasn't a statement that Calliope would want to make, if that makes sense. I try to think a lot about character psychology when I'm working on designs nowadays, especially as I've been trying to practice my design work. So I think those more subdued colors give off a more mature vibe that I think better communicate the personality that I wanted to get across. In terms of the story itself, Calliope is the first to fully accept her role as a Magical Girl. While if this was a story that was more typical, where she was fighting monsters of the week, I don't believe she would, the stakes that are at risk for being a Magical Girl in this story incentivize Calliope as a person a lot more. In the Cosmic Carousel, the nature of Magical Girls is a bit different from usual stories in the genre, as I said before. Rather than fighting a monster of the week to protect the Earth, Magical Girls are temporarily granted magic in order to complete trials. Once they complete the trials, though they don't know how many they'll face, they are each granted their heart's greatest desire. What wish their mysterious benefactor does not tell them is that even temporary magic can have grave consequences. Of course, what these consequences are, you'll have to find out by reading the comic. So in terms of magic, the Ringmaster operates sort of similar to a red mage from Final Fantasy. While I've personally not played a lot of Final Fantasy because I prefer a couple other RPG franchises, though I'm trying to get into Final Fantasy, I looked up a lot of different RPG classes and I felt that red mage was the best for a quick comparison. But I would say she's closer to an offensive caster than a supportive one. The Ringmaster's magic operates through her microphone, which I did not end up drawing here, but it's sort of a mix of a staff and a presenter's microphone from that you'd see in like a circus show. The microphone serves as her catalyst, which in magic terms, not exclusive to my comic, is what the magic is operated through. So like a wizard has a wand, right? That would be a catalyst. For Calliope, her catalyst is her microphone. While Quinn and Annette will directly attack their enemies, the Ringmaster operates in the background and charges up large, powerful attacks. She can also create illusions, casts quick but less powerful spells, but often it can be expected for the Ringmaster to deal the killing blow. She's extremely powerful and extremely helpful, but only really if the trials are combat-based. Of course, they're under the impression that they are, but perhaps it may be a little bit more. Next up is Annette Morrow. Before I talk about her magical girl design, I feel like I should quickly show you guys her updated civilian design. I keep changing it. So Annette's design has not really sat well with me since the last video, and I'm not sure if this is going to be the definite final design before the comic launches, but I like where she's at for now. The biggest changes were me cutting her hair short because I feel like it made a bit more sense for her character, and toning down her outfit a bit. Tried to lean more into a casual ballerina look. I looked a lot on Pinterest for this. The Cosmic Carousel, while it takes place ambiguously in a 2000s, 2010s era, is not a period piece. I have decided not to stress myself out trying to make sure everyone's outfits are super accurate. Instead, I'm just drawing what I like. I'm taking a lot of inspiration from shoujo manga because I realized, you know what? If they can draw their characters in cute outfits and just have them running around no matter what their position is in life, why can't I? You know, the characters in Nana, the characters in Nana have designer jewelry and they're supposed to be poor. So I feel like I can get away with having a little bit time inaccurate fashion in my comic. And that is not me dissing Nana, by the way. I need to read it. It looks awesome. I just think it's a little funny. That's all. So comparing this to her magical girl form, I'm sure you can see a very drastic shift going on. For Annette's magical girl form, the Marionette, I had a very strong vision going in. I would say her design is the one that has stayed the most consistent conceptually since I first came up with the Cosmic Carousel a few years ago. And that's partially because, so in earlier drafts of the story, they were in a circus. They weren't in a circus, but they used to be in a circus. Calliope was like a high school girl, and Quinn and Annette were circus runaways. And Annette was actually a living doll, and it was a very different story at the time. And it played a lot more into tropes. It was a lot more of a very silly story, and it's slowly morphed into being much more serious in a way that the circus thing just didn't feel right tonally anymore. So I ended up scrapping that. It's called the Cosmic Carousel. They have a circus theme. We're good now. So I wanted to lean into how Annette feels as though she isn't perceived as a human by those around her. This was, again, something that kind of has stayed since her initial idea as a living doll, and it's meant to allude to the fact both that she was a professional ballerina for most of her life, and also, as I talked about in the last video, how people have put her on a pedestal for most of her life. The Marionette features a high-waisted silhouette with ballet flats and a tutu-inspired petticoat beneath her dress. Though I will say the tutu thing didn't really come through all the way. It's much more of a Lolita-esque silhouette than a ballerina one, but I like it a lot, and I think it's a fun look, so I don't really mind. Additionally, I wanted to have the ribbons in her hair kind of resemble the control bars of a marionette. If you look that up, you'll see that it's sort of an X shape, so I tried to incorporate that into the rest of the ribbons on her outfit as well. The Marionette's design is supposed to be a reflection of how Annette feels helpless in her day-to-day life, in a stark contrast to the aspirational confidence of the Ringmaster. This is because I think partially it's supposed to almost play into the worst parts of themselves. All Calliope wants is to be somebody else, so she becomes somebody else. Annette feels like an object to others, so she becomes one. Quinn feels like he isn't taken seriously by others, so that reflects in his design as well. This story is a lot more psychological. It's supposed to be psychological horror, at least in its current draft, rather than a strictly magical girl story. In fact, I would say psychological horror is meant to be the main genre of the Cosmic Carousel, and the magical girl stuff is sort of the And the magical girl stuff is sort of the way in which this comes to fruition. I really love psychological horror. I want to see more psychological horror in comics, especially. I feel like I mostly see it in games. So that was a lot of my inspiration for making the Cosmic Carousel nowadays. Her cool tone palette, along with the moon motif in her design, are meant to show that Annette is a calm, poised, and collected person. Her eyes are covered to demonstrate the complete control of the strings. While you can't see the strings, I imagine her having attacks that would send strings out. She is, in this form, a doll, a fragile, fragile doll. And even if danger approached her, with her eyes covered, she wouldn't see it until it was much too late. Within the story, Annette is the last to accept her role as a magical girl, but even then, she's extremely hesitant. Her life isn't perfect, but this whole thing sounds way too good to be true. She's not much older than the other two, but she is older, and she's had a lot more life experience, seeing as she ended up skipping college and going straight into the workforce as a ballerina. So, not necessarily the workforce, but she went straight to work. She has a bit more knowledge, a bit more wisdom to kind of spot when people might be trying to trick them in one way. So she sort of serves as this figure to tell the others, hey, I don't know if this is good. I don't know if what's happening is right. Then again, when does anyone ever listen to her? Marionette's weapon is a parasol. I bounced a lot of ideas around in my head for her attacks. So originally I was actually stuck between an oversized hammer and very heavy gauntlets. In this design here, which I'll show on the screen, she actually did have the gauntlets, and she was I based her on a style of pottery and dishware that I had seen a lot that I thought was very pretty, but I ended up scrapping this. I ended up deciding that it wasn't quite the right move for her character. I was picking between the hammer and the gauntlets because Marionette is meant to be a glass cannon, at least archetype-wise, when it comes to fighting. I did actually end up deciding on the parasol because it kept her design gentle and unassuming, and in addition, it also called back to a tightrope walker in the circus, who you all will sometimes see, carrying parasols when they walk. Like I said, the Marionette is meant to be a glass cannon, which means she's extremely powerful offensively, but has very low defensive capabilities. Due to this, she has put a lot of energy into dodging of enemy attacks to keep herself safe. Her parasol operates sort of similar to a character like Princess Peach. If you played a lot of Smash Brothers, you'll kind of see what I mean. She can use it to slow a long fall or hit an enemy like a bat, and in addition, I can imagine it also summons ribbons or strings from the tip to tie up her enemies. She's very supportive when it comes to attacking. She does not deal the killing blow, but she can chip away at an enemy's health and do a lot of damage over time. While she may have low vision, the Marionette isn't totally oblivious. Maybe this attempt to blind her has only made her more aware. It's a good thing she's so fragile then, though, just in case. Last but not least, Quinn Kepler, also known as the Fool. Like the Ringmaster, the Fool received a fairly drastic overhaul when I came back to this video. Just to show the difference, here's the design I completed in January, and this is his current design. In his civilian form, Quinn is struggling to be seen as both a man and as an adult. He dresses in ways he's seen others pull off, but he doesn't do much to make it his. In this way, his attempts to look more mature, to look more manly, kind of end up making him look even more childish than he is. His magical form is almost a mockery of this, whether that's from Wish himself or from Quinn's own internal feelings. Rather than being cool like he views the Ringmaster and the Marionette, the Fool feels that he looks ridiculous. Even when he's granted magic, he feels he's less than the others around him. Quinn's view on his own masculinity and his own worth is extremely important to the story. I will be upfront in this video to say that Quinn is not a very good person, and that his experiences as a magical boy only exasperate this. He is someone who he's someone who could have been good, but he is not. I just want to make this clear because I admittedly have been a bit anxious that people will read the comic and sort of take Quinn's character and get upset when he doesn't turn out the way they expect him to. Please keep an open mind. I do not want these characters to be perfect people. I want them to be people, and I want them to be flawed. They're all very flawed, and I want this to show in their characters. So Quinn is not great, and again, I am saying this partially because in my last video, I did see a lot of people being excited to see a transmasc character. I am transmasc. I am on testosterone. I understand that transmasc representation is not as prevalent as I feel it should be. And in my other work, I really want to address this by making interesting and positive representations of transmasculinity and transmasc people. I would not say Quinn is one of these characters. Quinn's transness is, in a way, Quinn's transness contributes to his flaws. Not because he's trans. to clear that up. He is not flawed because he's trans, but because he sees masculinity in a certain way, and masculinity is something that he has to achieve in a certain way, it makes him more flawed as a person. Quinn's issue is toxic masculinity, not being transgender. Again, just want to make that clear. I really care about these characters. I care about how they're perceived. And I don't want people to be disappointed, again, when this character is not what they thought he was. So just wanted to make that clear today. His design has slowly shifted along with his character over the years. So initially when I made Quinn, he was a non-binary butch lesbian. As you can see, he is not anymore. But I feel like some of the threads of that can still be seen in the way I dress him. Admittedly, as a non-binary lesbian, I do dress him in a way that I find fun to draw. Initially, he was also a much more confident character, and his magical design was based more so on a trapeze artist. But now, as you can see, he is a clown. Quinn's bright palette, compared to the dark tones of his civilian design, is meant to emphasize his view of himself as incompetent and inferior to those around him. He has a complex. He has an inferiority complex, and it shows in the way he treats others. He resembles a comic relief character, which is admittedly ironic, given the fact that he has the most stereotypically strong weapon, which is a gun. I like to joke a little bit that maybe he's overcompensating with that, even though he didn't pick his own weapon. But if he did pick his weapon, I don't think he would change much, personally. Quinn doesn't take long to accept his role, but unlike Marionette, he feels fully confident the entire time. He knows his heart's desire. He wants to feel control, like he's the boss rather than the victim. He's been beat down and abused for years. He's been a victim for such a long time. He has so many people. So isn't it time for him to be on top? Once the trio finishes their first trial, Quinn is all in. His ambition blinds him to any danger that may be in his path. His weapon is a rifle. I deliberated between this and a pistol, but decided on a rifle after talking to my girlfriend, who's much more knowledgeable about guns than I am. She likes them a lot more than I do. I just took her word for it. According to her, the rifle is both more powerful and more in line with showmanship, which would fit into the circus theme. Personally, I also believe this was a better choice because it leads into Quinn's desire to seem bigger than he actually is. Having a big weapon makes him feel like he takes up more space, like he's stronger. One important aspect of Quinn's weapon, however, is that he never really knows what it's going to do. Each bullet will have a different effect, but it's entirely random what exactly it is. Of course, there are like predetermined effects. I have a list of what each effect that his bolts could do is, but he doesn't know this. He doesn't know what's going to come out of his gun when he shoots. All he can really do is just hope that it's something strong enough to hold off any enemies while the Ringmaster casts her spells. And, maybe this time his attack will land the killing blow rather than hers. So, that was Quinn. I apologize for the random disclaimer in the middle. I was reading the comments for the last video, and I started to get kind of sad because I don't want people to take anything negative from Quinn in the terms of representation. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them down below. I will answer them happily, as long as they don't have like big spoilers. But yeah, I do hope you enjoyed hearing about all these characters. So, so those are the magical forms for the Cosmic Carousel. I had a really good time working on these. I hope you all enjoyed the choice to do speed paints rather than time lapses. But if you would prefer time lapses, please let me know. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the community posts. Just let me know, please. This will probably be the last Cosmic Carousel video for the comic releases, so please stick around if you'd like to see some more varied content from me. I have a couple other videos in the works. A lot of them are planned. I'm figuring it all out. I hope to make quite a few videos over the summer, or at least over the year. If you have any questions or anything of the like, please leave them in the comment section down below. I love seeing what you all have to say. I love answering questions. I appreciate so much all the love on my videos so far. It means the world. I'm hoping to launch the comic, Cosmic Carousel, very soon. Please keep an eye out. I'll be making a post on my community tab when it does have a specific launch date in mind. I will not say anything more because otherwise I will psych myself out and I'll get scared. So, have a wonderful day and let's see each other again soon. Bye!